Great. Oh, apologies for the delay. I had to restart everything again, but at least I've got my my third camera back because that didn't want to know. So it's rather good fun, isn't it? Still some things missing. One is the filter for this camera here. Don't know where it is, so I'm just going to have to wander around for 5 minutes until that turns up. So it doesn't really matter that I was late anyway, because it's going to be a dithery start today. I know some sort of channels and oh great, that's broken now as well. It's going to be a repair day today. Are all organised and ready to go and make everything seem simple and go, hey, you want to paint a picture? It's easy, just do this. Like those cookery shows where they'd have everything prepared and ready in little bowls in exactly the right quantities, and the person cooking didn't have to go to the shop at any point, or this isn't one of those. This is the whole thing. This is me starting a painting, and to begin with I did that on a fiddle and find out how unprepared I am and I muck about, and then somehow it still happens in a few hours. So hopefully that'll be heartening, rather than doing something which is trying to demonstrate the impossible. There it is. Okay, a little bit of a delay. There we go. Now we can see those colours coming through. Yeah. Okay, so today's subject is a sweet jar with some mandarins in it, which is slightly open at the top, and one single mandarin on its own on the table. As I've said before, I think Still Life Can Tell a Story, and I'm calling this one The Escape. So hopefully we'll feel some kind of solidarity with that lone mandarin, which has fallen out the jar and face planted on the ground in a bid for freedom. Okay. That spirit looks fine. I just made a cup of tea and then realised I'd run out of time. I'm going to need rag. Got my paints, got my brushes. Oh dear. If ever you need to clean dried paint off a palette knife, the best way to do it is with another palette knife. Scrape that clean pretty quickly. Especially if it's properly dried on. Put that on the hard surface and then get the blade of the other one against it. Give that a pull. Lovely. Yes. I'm going to need my rag bin as well. Oh yeah, I'll share with you what I've been doing recently. Michael Taylor, who I've been a big fan of for a long time, suggested I join in with the Royal Portrait Painters little hashtag on Instagram of painting your feet. So that was my weird square feet. Well, actually it was just drawing your feet, but I got carried away. I'm rather enjoying the green at the moment. I used it again here. There's a green theme going on. So that's sort of how my feet usually, well, not usually appear, because I don't wear those shoes very often, but you get the idea. That was a little demo from in the week. It was part of the classes which I've been running online. So that was quite fun. Give this a clean. Smashing. Right, oh yeah, I have to get the devices up so I can answer any hellos and things like that. Apologies if you've already said hello. And I've been terribly rude and not said hello back. I have to have Facebook on one and YouTube on the other. Come on. Okay. I have Facebook and YouTube running, so if anyone wants to make a comment or ask a question or just generally send some abuse my way, you're more than welcome to do that. Whew. Right, I haven't finished my tea. So shall I leave you with my feet and my shoes while I finish preparing? I'll leave you with some feet. I think they're rather fun. Okay. Well, I hope you can hear me still. I'm going to get this stuff sorted out. I have been rather busy the last few days trying to do the finishing touches to a trying to get through the sort of the legwork of a website, a membership website, so I can run classes with limited numbers in them on Zoom, which are already underway, but it's about making that formal because Patreon charges VAT and then a big chunk on top, so it's a big cut for me and a big add-on for the participants, so that should be up and running sometime soon, which is a thing to look forward to. That's a quarter of an hour doing nothing so far. Are you glad you came? Oh dear. So yeah, well, while you're here, sit down, put the kettle on maybe. Take the weight off your plates. And gradually, all of the nothing happening will accumulate into something happening. And you won't really know when it happened. I think that's the way it seems to turn out. I know people like to dip in and out of these sessions, and I think whenever anybody dips into one of them, they go, oh, I happened to tune in at a point when nothing was happening. But in fact, nothing happens all the way through it until eventually all the nothings add up to something. It's very peculiar. Okay, sorry about the delay. Kate is here. Hi Katie, apologies about my feet. I'll remove those now so nobody can still look at them anymore. Okay, I'll keep repeating myself because not everyone was here at the beginning, but I was calling this the escape. That poor brave mandarin has got out of the sweet jar. Actually, it's interesting. You'd be watching now. I had the Japanese bowl a few weeks ago, and now we've got your sweet jar. If you've got any other spare stuff, I'll be around for it. That was given to me. Okay. Now, it's a rather peculiar place I'm in because I'm sort of having to look over the top of this tripod. I'll see if I can adjust that before I start without trashing everything. That's better. Slightly closer look at the palette. Bit of inky paint, get some basic drawing on. The shadow's important. I want my mandarin to be here. Which actually puts the end of the jar here, sort of thing. I've got that angle coming down from the top of the jar. So if I put the top of the jar there, that angle coming down. Interesting. Pretty straight there. The jar's got to fit into that sort of shape. That'll be the edge of the jar there. The rest of it's all shadow. Shadow's just less than halfway up. Puts it about there. Yeah, nice. That's in relation to it. Yeah, that's in relation to that. So I'm just finding some intermingling shapes. Joining a few bits and pieces together before I get too carried away tightening up the drawing. That's going to go off the bottom. Yeah, so maybe my mandarin will be about here. Is that too low down? Yeah, it does feel a bit too low down. Yeah, so this is going to shrink the jar slightly. That's there. Actually, the bottom of the jar is going to be there. Yeah, bring it back in again. Okay, bit of rag, bit of cleaning up. Start to tighten up the drawing. Yeah, there's a whole sort of space there, nothing in it. Similarly there. So I'm just using some raw umber. This is quite a heavily sized surface, so it's not really staining. So I'm going to have to pretty much do the whole painting a la prima, which is the whole idea of that heavily sized surface anyway. I'm guessing that's the width there. I'm just eyeballing this now. Something like that. Something like these shapes here. There's the little bobble on the top. So I'm going to find all sorts of things are wrong with this later on, but hopefully it's all fixable. Okay. Okay, put a few shadows in. Let's put some blue into that inky paint. Just do some big shapes. That's almost completely blue, isn't it? That's alright, at least I can separate out these little areas. And it's still just drawing stage and not being too fussy about it. That's that shape there. That's this shape here. Out to that, which is going to put the edge of that jar further in. Okay, that's there, then maybe not, I don't know. Okay, as long as I'm second guessing myself, I'm not going to stress too much about making everything perfect. Okay, a shadow under the mandarin. Actually goes about here. It's a smaller fruit than you'd expect. Okay, a few more darks up here. So that's that shadow, that needs to come in here somewhere. There you are. Okay, now we're going. Okay, front tune the drawing a little bit now. That's an edge. Actually, I'm putting an edge in. Probably shouldn't. That is higher on. Yeah, that's about right. That's at the top of that shape there. Like if it comes out back here. Okay. Some other shadowy shapes. Yeah. Okay, the white spirit will evaporate That gives me a pretty good idea of the drawing. I've got a feeling that shadow's in the wrong place. A lot of this stuff just comes down to feelings in the end of it. Yeah, or is it? No, I think it's okay. Yeah, that was on earlier, and that is staining the surface, so it's like that. Okay, so oh no, I didn't mean to get rid on that. Oh well, it's in there now. Just use some really scrubby marks just to get some of that ready shadow on where the mandarins go. Yeah, that's further in. So a lot of this is just finding the way of letting the image tell me things I didn't know before. And my responses to that will be partly subconscious and partly conscious. And the subconscious one will take care of what it means, and the conscious ones will take care of what it looks like. And as long as I know not to get in the way of it, I try and sort of deliberately employ a meaning, then you end up into sort of getting into rather hackneyed symbolism. And which can be effective if you're a political cartoonist, or if you're making very straightforward messages. But you don't discover anything new, you just repeat what you know. And maybe accidentally dress it up as some kind of wisdom, like a folk singer. Okay, there's some shapes in here that I've got to keep vague and simple until I know more about them. I might do something with this background colour as well. I'll bring a bit more into that. Oh. There are a couple of people on YouTube. I've got the YouTube comments open today. So nothing, I suppose. Yeah, so if somebody does want to leave a comment or say something, point out anything useful. Make any suggestions, ask any questions. You're more than welcome to do that. There may be a slight delay between you sending it and me seeing it, because I'm not doing this with my eyes glued to a screen. So, okay. Lucky palette. Clean the worst of it off. I'm going to move everything along one. There, that's old. Don't need that anymore. Let's clean that area off. And let's put the raw umber, which has somehow already formed a skin. It's sort of a half skin, which is the worst time, because you can't get it all off and it ends up forming lumps which get in the paint. Yeah, I've done a pig's ear of that. There you go, there's another bit. There's a few lumps in there, but it's not the end of the world. Nothing I can't pick out as I go along. See, all my colours have gradually moved along the palette till they're all sort of cramped up at the end. and it's this end where I'm most likely to add extra colours, so the Naphthol red, which I'm rather enjoying and will certainly be very useful today, turns up at this end, as does the Viridian green. What I'm using Talocyanine green, but just before you call me on that one, not sure what looks like Viridial. The only extra to add up at this end is some yellow lake. Might use some cadmium yellow actually. It's got an extra kind of density to it. I've got a bag of it somewhere. Oh no, a bag of yellow. Well, I saved it. There it is. Woo! I saved it from an old tube. Very, very old tube. That hasn't got a skin yet. That's good. So I'll move the alizarin along a bit. Just clear its space. There we go. And then move the ultramarine in. This is all the stuff I should have done beforehand if I wanted to make a slick, smooth video that people could actually enjoy. But yeah, whatever, suck it up. Yeah, those days might come. I mean, really what I would do is do this, and if I wanted to make a slick video, and then just edit the 15 minutes of interesting bits and serve them up. But I really can't be bothered to do that. So it ain't happening. Now, oh, Talocyanine green. So now I can put my green at the end. That's all behaving itself. That's all lumps. It will break my heart to throw away this much Viridian, which is why I'm using Talocyanine green. Hi, Viv. You are forgiven for your tardiness. It would be very hypocritical of me to criticise anyone else for being late. In fact, you've got the right idea with being late, because actually I've barely started. But hopefully people are settling into doing their things at home. This is ideal if you're something to have in the background if you're, you know, reading a book, or if you just want someone to ignore, really. I'm glad I can be that person for you. I think it does us all good now and again to dismissively ask what somebody else is wittering on about. What's he on about now? Dear me. Still hasn't started. It's a yellow ochre. You won't need much of that. I get used to using a lot because of portraits, but in this instance not much is required. Okay, so this is still wet. Let's try and get the wet bits out. There we are. That's what I'm waiting for. I want to take the flakes out of it if I can. So there, that's rather nice to retrieve that from a tube. Nice bit of cadmium yellow. I reckon I might get one more squeeze out that bag before it's all over. Okay, I'm not going to clean the palette off properly or anything. Who's got time for that? No one, certainly not me. So I'm just going to mix an orange over here. Cadmium yellow, which is a very strong yellow, and naphtol red, which is a weaker red. Lovely colour though. It's quite sort of, what do you call that? Grainy. Very opaque colour, and it will sit up at the front because of that. Now there's a bit of this sort of pale green underneath, which is obviously mixing in as I mix this, but I don't mind that because the very brightest bits, the very brightest colours, I'll be putting in later on. So that's a starting point. Grab a bit of white, a bit more yellow. So use what red is on the palette knife. A bit of that. So that's kind of a peachy colour. It's not really what I want. So I have to chuck a whole load more yellow in. So that's about the brightest version of that orange I'm going to want. Pretty bright. A slightly redder version just next to it. Okay, we'll come back to those anyway. Not going to need all of that all at once. I'm going to want quite a lot of background colour. So most of the jar is going to be that as well. It's fine. And that's pretty much the whole thing. I'm going to find other colours as I go along, but for the moment I'm going to start off with some raw umber. I'm going to put some white in it at the beginning so I can really see the colour. It's still very dark. I'm going to make this slightly bluer on this occasion, just to make that orange stand out. That's about the darkest. There might be some really heavy darks to go in afterwards, but that'll be my darkest colour. And I'm really quite happy to leave it like that. Okay, let's get the rest of this. Now, raw umber is effectively a dark yellow, which doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense, but there is such a thing. It's really our naming system that makes it sound weird rather than its existence. In terms of hue, it's in the yellow section of the colour wheel, but it's also dark. Yeah, in the same way that, you know, black is dark white, you know. It sounds nonsensical, but if you're actually dealing with mixing the colours and moving paint around, it's sort of the way you have to think. Oh, I found another lump there, if I can extricate that. Yeah. Right. So that's pretty much the colour. I'm going to need a much lighter version. So if I take for my brightest lights, it's pretty much going to be white. for that next step down, it's going to be slightly greener as well. Let's use what's on the knife. If I hold them together, see how much of a dip it's taken from that white. It's probably too much. Working it again. Yeah, it will get a bit greener, but tonally that's pretty good. It gives us somewhere for those bright highlights that shine through and the edges to show up against. So that's pretty much my lightest colour. That's my shadow around about there. Yeah, so the light version is pretty much somewhere in between those two, and we need more paint. Hey. Hi Johnny. Yes. So just to reiterate again, I wanted it to feel a bit like the mandarins in the jar had been trying to get out for a while, and eventually one of them made a break for freedom. And he's managed to open the lid and get out, but his face planted onto the mount board next to him. So I thought the escape would be a good name for this. Even more paint again. These are just the basic colours I'm mixing. Almost none of them will be right either. Let's use all of that white to see what happens. Oh, there we go. So that's not enough of a contrast. This does need to be darker. And I need a lot of this colour. Blue it a little bit, but not quite as much as the others. So how's that looking? I don't know how literal I want to be with the colours, especially the background colour. It's fairly interchangeable, but it's the accent colours that are really going to do the job. Excuse me. This is an aesthetic decision now. Is it blue enough to create a contrast against that orange? So there's the shadow colour right there. That's that's a good contrast with that one. That might need to get lighter. I can work into it afterwards. Alright, it's probably time to chuck some paint on, see what happens. This is going to flap around all over the place, but if the blue tint doesn't hold it. And that jar's right in the middle, isn't it? I quite like it in the middle though. It feels more static. It wants to feel like a prison, like it's locked down. And then these little movements of what do the talking. It's amazing how much a little still life. Ah, Mark, hi there. I'll ask some questions. Excellent. Yes, it's a perfect alternative. Yes, a few points here. It is a perfect alternative to football. Watching me paint, it's far more interesting and exciting, and you know it won't repeat itself every season. So yeah, that's a bonus. This panel is I've used it, they come primed, but I've used Michael Harding's what is it? I have to find the jar now so I can tell you. It's an acrylic gesso, but it's not called gesso, is it? Non-absorbent acrylic primer, which is this stuff here, and I put ink in it. I get it from Jackson's in London, and it's too expensive for what it is, in my opinion, but it does work, and I haven't found anything else that does it without it being a lot more hassle. So I used to use an oil primer, an oil-based primer, and it's a lot of bother. And I put some of this colour on a very stiff brush, make sure it's nice and flat. Isn't doing the job. It's a tricky one. Let's put some of this shadow on, see how it compares. It needs to be a bit darker. I'll put some of this darker shadow on, see how it compares. Is that the tone of jump I want? It is. I need to do something halfway between this and this. It's subtle, but if I can get these things right at the beginning, that will help. So where was I? Oh yeah, shadows. Big simple shapes, rough marks. Yeah, so this acrylic primer, what it does is it doesn't absorb the oil from the paint. Normal primer, or even gesso. Gesso is it's just an Italian word for chalk, really. And traditionally that was plaster and chalk dust and rabbit glue, which was I think you can actually still get it, made from rabbit hides. Yeah, it was used on panels from a time before oil painting, really, when people used to paint in tempera, which is egg yolk and pigment, and the proteins in the egg yolk form a kind of glue and carry the pigment with them. So it's actually quite a good way of making long-lasting paintings. If someone's paying you a ton for an altarpiece, you want it to last. Okay, so that's some of those darks there. There's darker bits in them, but this is a base colour, will work underneath. Something like it anyway. Similar in here. That shape goes across. It borrows some green from the jar, but generally it's a shadow shape. That's fine. Yeah, let's put some more of that in. So I'm starting to find some of those colours and shapes now. Hey, and there we go. Okay, so I've got some more shadow in there. Just doing big marks, keeping it vague. Trying not to get too carried away. That is the shadow colour. I'm confident that's in the right place. Not massively, but I can always change it and move it around later. Same with that. So some big patchy areas of paint just to get started. Get things locked in. I'm seeing so many of those greens now. And that's coming from the colour of the jar and the way the light goes through the jar. There you are. So this lighter colour here. So I'll put a bit of that in here. There's some. There'll be more of this later on, but just for the moment. There's some of that light going in there. Oh yeah, and let's not forget our little mandarin. Back to that heavy dark colour. So you see there's this extra black colour that goes around the bottom of that shape. Okay. It's a start, it's a good start. There's lumps in it. I have to get funny about lumps in the paint. It really doesn't matter at all. I have to just learn to relax about it, but I can't stop myself. Where was I? Yes, so the rabbit glue and plaster and chalk was a really good surface for tempera. So when people started painting in oils, they just used that. And then when they started using canvas, because there's a limit to the size they could make panels and they wanted to do bigger paintings, they kept using that. And actually it's a really terrible thing to put on canvas. This is a panel, but it's a canvas textured panel. And so it still has some flexibility. It's not like a whole lump of a tree. And gesso isn't flexible, it crumbles and it cracks. Yeah, and you really don't want that. So that's one thing that, among probably many others, that is eminently replaceable with a modern painting process that perhaps our painters of yesteryear didn't have an opportunity to enact, but certainly would have done. I think Michelangelo would have been delighted about ICI. Okay, I'm just going to get the excess off this brush. I'm going to go across to this darker mix I made, and I'm going to work from this side over. I want to put some extra colours in that, really. More lumps. There's a light that comes down there. Let's put an edge on that. Soft edges first. So I'm using a stiffer brush than I normally do. This is a Rosemary number 10. They're quite bendy when you get them, but all brushes will stiffen up over time. There's things you can do to soften them, but I like the variety. When the next thing after it, gets to this stage, is it will start to change shape, and then at a certain point you'll just need replacing. So brushes have this life, and at different stages of their life they're good for different things. So I like to just let them have their life cycle. and not interrupt it too much. I will occasionally give them a haircut just to make them a bit more flexible again. But I quite like the way I've got. I can spread the paint thinner with this brush. I'll use a softer brush later on when I want to put gooier paint over the surface. Okay, and the important thing here is getting some of these shapes on the inside. So this looks very light now. There's some that's sort of borrowed from the outside colour. Streaks across a little bit. Anyway, don't get too carried away doing that. And here, old chunks of this. So I've got that dark there, but a chunk of that there and there. Oh, this is where it all gets a bit greener, but this will do in the meantime, just to get that block area of colour in. Oh, it's too light now. And yeah, you see, that's about the same tone in that bit, and in that bit. That's lighter. That's about the same tone there, and it's lighter at the side. So just matching up some of these tones. It'll be lighter in here as well. Okay. There's a bit there. That's definitely background colour. This bit in the middle, a whole chunk of that's background colour. And then, where else was on? There's a few bits here. Okay, that's the green bits coming in here. I'm starting to see where the lips is going to go, but that'll come later on. Not fussing about that now. Middle of there, that's background colour. Okay, into the lighter one now. Yeah, that's working. Pretty awful. I'm starting to mess up the drawing now. No, maybe not. That should have been. Back to the dark one again. Oh, okay, there you go. We're in already. Definitely in the darker in the background here, and I'm going to do that by adding more blue. I think I can do it just with a brush mix without messing up that background too much. This blue will be that's too high up, what was I thinking? Be a bit more forgiving of that green colour. Okay, so I'm starting to get background in. Just go messing the same down here. It's tempting to be sort of fussy and try and make it all perfect, but it doesn't have to be particularly exact. There you are. There you are. Those will do that job. That lighter edge on there, which we can leave that lighter edge on the jar. Good. What else? That will flicker light in there. Yeah. There's a few nice little details in there. Rather fun. Yeah. Blue at the back. And then as we come into the front, I'm going to introduce a bit more light, actually a little bit more yellow, which is sort of already there in that colour. I'm going to borrow a tiny bit of that orange, see what it does. Yeah, it needed that. Look for places where it goes on the inside, a little bit in there. A few little flashes of light, there's a little flash of light under there. Just really subtle bits at the moment, nothing to be too careful about. I don't know. Orange. So I'm nearing the 45-minute mark. Well, I quite like to stop and have a little break, because otherwise you do really stupid things. Stupid things that can't be undone. I think we've all earned a cup of tea, really, haven't we? Had I finished talking about gesso, or did I just stop in the middle? I do tend to do that. Huh. Steve Parker. See, Jason's here. Hi, Jason. Let's borrow a little bit of that. What was I talking about? Yes. So it makes sense if you're using canvas, or if you're using anything flexible, to use a flexible ground to work on top of. And you want something that will support the kind of paint you're working on. The primer that you get on the canvas, you know, when it arrives, if you buy one off the shelf, is probably white, and that's really just to protect the fibres of the canvas, which will rot. I mean, none of this has a big effect, but it can, you know, affect the longevity of the fibres of the canvas. I mean, but ultimately, you want a surface that you can predict. You want to know what's going to happen when you put the paint on, and not have horrible surprises and have to scrap stuff and start again because you had no idea what was coming. And it takes a while to get to that, because you have to do a fair bit of trial and error, mucking about with things. Ah, that's good. We need some light coming over there. Yeah. It's a bit like it's under the searchlight, isn't it? Like kind of like the watchtowers in a prison. And those films where someone's escaping and they're hiding from the big round light. I'll do that. Go back to this bluer colour now. Darker at the top. I managed to dislodge it. Okay, I haven't finished putting the ground in, so I'll finish putting when I say the ground here, when I talk about the first layer of paint, I call that a ground. So yeah, lots of confusing terms going on. Although I don't think people are really watching for that, are they? I don't know, tell me if you are. That's a simple shape. Got the lighter one there. Yeah. I've moved this across with my mind, so clearly it was meant to go there. I'll just put it in place just so it doesn't distract me. Okay, that's detail stuff, that's for later on. Ah, that's messy. I don't want that, I want simple shapes. That's the green bits, they'll come later. Some of the light bits will go in first. So it looks pretty dull at the moment, and it is. But it will all liven up when we get that orange in. So maybe I'll do some groundwork for the oranges as well. I'm going to use a slightly neater brush for that, so I can control a bit more. Still going to be one of the rosemaries. And I'm going to have to do a bit of brush mixing. So I'm going to take some of this shadow colour and some of this orange and mix them together and say, where does that go? Some of it goes in there. It needs to be redder. It's darker, it's redder. When it's lighter, it's more yellow. Again, this is thin areas of paint because I want to be able to paint over the top of it. I don't want this to be the final layer, so simple shapes. There's a heavy shadow in there. I'm trying not to double up and do more than one mark. Maybe one will do. I haven't got enough paint here. More red bits. That's too orange. Although actually there is a place for that. In there. Oh, there's a whole lovely bit of it there. The lights to go in afterwards. What about in here? Yeah, that was redder. Actually, it'll do for all of that. This is just the stuff that will show through underneath when the proper marks go on the top, including a little bit of that base colour. So let's go here. It's way too light. It's a tricky balance. This bit which needs to be much pinker. Something in there. Okay, I'm overly fussing about this now. A little bit of oil, just to make this spread out a bit. Okay. Simple marks, don't overly fuss with it. I'm getting a bit carried away with this now, but it's only because it seems to be working in some way or fashion. So I need to carry on with that. There's still room for me to put some extra changes in colour and light over the top. Okay, there's a few places I can see this really strong orange, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in just because I can see it and because I know where it goes, because it's just told me, the image has told me. I'm going to go ahead and do it. No, don't do too much. Okay, so I hope this is restful and relaxing for you. That's my intent. I'm not going to do white knuckle painting and stress everyone out. Okay, so there's a few places where these really strong oranges come through. Shadow colour doesn't work at all. I'm going to go back to do a dark one. Okay, and how else that goes? Not really. That's that orange again. Pop a little bit in here. There was a bit in there to light that side, dark that side. Right. I'm going to give myself 5 minutes in an attempt to stop myself making any really horrible errors. It also gives me a chance to reflect back on what I've done so far and decide if that's any use to me. So, hi Catherine, I've no idea what they put in it to make it non-absorbent, but it might say on it. But I don't think it's something you can just get off the shelf. Do not apply over rabbit skin or hide glue, or to unsound supports such as cardboard and flimsy supports. Yeah. So I don't think he's telling me, but even so, I'd still get him to make it rather than try and do it myself. Don't put it in your eyes. That's always useful when they tell you handy things like that. It saved me a lot of embarrassment. Yeah, but it's worth doing some experiments. Sometimes it's nice to have an absorbent surface. I mean, painting oil paint onto paper can be really rewarding because it just sucks all the oil straight out of it. And that dead, slightly matte finish can actually be something you use. Also, once that paper starts getting saturated with oil, it gives this forgiving, soft edge to the marks, which is something you have to kind of work wet in wet to achieve on a really well primed canvas. But yeah, well, there's some thoughts to be going on with. I've got to get my charger as well. All my batteries are going flat. But yes, put the kettle on, have a cup of tea, or get your favourite beverage from the fridge, and we will resume in a few minutes. Only 3. Wow, what a bunch of losers. They'll be back, they'll miss me. Okay, I'm just going to get all this stuff plugged in. It's amazing how involved this all becomes. Microphones and things that need to be plugged in. So I guess now is probably a good time to talk about things that are coming up. There's a few exciting developments since this whole lockdown thing started. So I may have explained I rather fell into a gap. So I've had to adapt rather quickly, but thankfully that seems to have worked. So I'm greatly indebted to those people who have supported me and joined in with the online classes, and yeah, that the whole effort really. It's been quite touching. So if you're one of those, thank you. So I'm launching in earnest in May. Get that all the way to the edge. And those classes will have a limited number of places on them, so it's not overcrowded. I don't want a Zoom session with 30 people in it. So I'm going to do drawing on Wednesday afternoons and oils on Thursdays, morning and afternoon, 2 separate sessions, and portraits on Fridays. And I'm going to try and build up video lessons for each one, sort of complementary to those live Zoom lessons. So with these live Zoom lessons, you'll be able to get some personal feedback and critique, and we can have a good old chat about what it is we're working on, trying to do, and the video classes will also sort of tie in, because they'll carry ideas about exercises and kind of a logical progression to building your process and improving your painting and getting the most out of it, really, which is what it's all about. All right, what does this need now? I'm going to go in with a darker colour now. I'm going to go with this darker orange first. I'm going to put in a few key bits. That should have been darker. And this mandarin should have been further across, but I'll pretend it isn't. Which means that. Okay, let's go back to this. It looks very dark on the palette, that colour, and quite light on the canvas. So there's a bit. So there's lots of little incremental touches, and I'm not going to try and do every detail of this jar. That would take an absolute age. All I'm going to try and do is get some of the language of the jar. There's these light oranges and there's parts of those in there, but I'm looking for the dark bits first. So I'm going to make a little brush mix here. There's some extra red in there. I'll put some of that naphtha red in. So some deep red colours, and there's one here. Oh, yeah, I enjoyed that. Some of that shadow under there will count as that as well. And in here, yeah, we can really go for it with that crimson in places. Borrow a bit of that orange back. Just talking about this shadow colour here. Put that in properly. What else? Give it a little fix of it. So I'm going between effects on the jar and colours on the actual mandarins inside the jar. Extra reds in there. Oh, so there's a lovely effect here. With that, it's a different height to this. That light orange carries all the way across. I do have too much paint on the surface, so I need something to lift that with. And that is just the thing. Hey. Matt keeping me on track, good. Thank you for that. Yes, there's an online learning section of my website, so if you want to have a look at what I'm going to be doing with the lessons, there's some clues there. It's still being built, but there is a little sort of section for each of the lessons that will give you an idea of what to expect. So I'm just clearing a space here for some of these brighter colours. So I'm going to control where it can mix in and where it has to change. So here it's going to mix in. I'm going to put some of that colour there. This little red stripe. Yeah, the lessons are, at the moment, I've been doing the drawing lessons for free. I'm quite happy to do a week's trial if anybody wants to try something out. So you only have to contact me if you're interested. I'm keeping the numbers low enough that I can keep some semblance of personal interaction, although my admin skills mean that if I can get it automated on a website, well, that will be better for everybody, I guarantee it. Okay. Okay, that's taking nicely now. Where else is it doing that? That's a grey bit. This is where I'm going to have to start bringing some oil in as well. Yeah, just to make this carry across. Seeing some more of those dark reds. Maybe more than one brush might be order of the day here. But in the meantime, dab of oil, just get that to sit up on the surface a bit more. Thinner line there. Pattern here. More paint. That's behaving a bit better. This is that. Little blobs at the top. Get too carried away with that. Where else can I see this colour? There's a bit. There's some under there. Oh, there's a whole chunk of it there, that's nice. Okay, so it's starting to turn up a bit now. Yeah. Okay, gonna need some more white. Okay, so hopefully now we can sort of start to see some jarness appearing. This will give me a little bit of feedback, something where I can decide, okay, that's closer to what I want, or no, that's going further away. Put some of that light in here. Put some of the shape in the other side. No. A little bit of light in here. A bit in here. Where else is it? Is that the right colour now? Yeah, it's a bit more like it. That's borrowed a little. It's got hardly any. And there's just a sort of rhythm of sort of shapes, which I'm not going to get too caught up in the detail of. And here, so that's definitely a lighter bit. And again, just this rhythm of shapes. It's a basic dark ground in here that I can work into on top of. Okay, does this belong in this orangey bit anyway? It's going a bit peachy there. I'm not entirely happy with that. That'll do for underneath where the light lands. It needs to be redder. It needs to be more intense colour. Let's try this. That's miles off. More yellow. That's getting there. I'm starting to push it for how much paint I can get to stay on this surface, but okay, where has this become more orange in there? There's some highlights, but they'll come later on. Around there. Okay, really starting to see some of these. That's yellow, right? Yeah, it's getting a little bit more gestural now. These little marks, the story they tell. I'm even not minding the lumps in the paint now. So this rhythm of these sort of grooves in the jar has got thrown, I think. An extra touch there. That should do it. Okay. Let's go ahead and finish these oranges, and then I'll do the mandarins. I'll do the rest. So I do have a peachy light colour. So I'm just making a little satellite. And that'll go here. And this will accommodate the bright sparkles of the strong reflections when they appear. I need to kind of get in the language of how it looks. And make it lighter. We can make that a bit yellower over here. That needs to mix in a little bit. Bring out that shape. Yeah. Somewhere in between these. So then we get into the real subtleties of the colours and how they appear and where they land. There's some there. Yeah, that's a lot of light on that. Yeah. Very happy with that. Put a bit more of that on the top. That'll do it. Okay, well, it's funny how this changes as you move around it. Alright, let's chuck some of these greens on. I'll start with a strong green. And I've got this light colour I mixed earlier, but it wasn't quite light enough. Okay, that's black, because I'm an idiot. We could start that again. I'm doing all this with one brush as well. Green. So that's just that purest, brightest green I can do. And I'm going to add that in to this grey, because it's not that bright. Even this should look fairly bright. Now I should, if I'm careful, roughly know where that mark needs to go. And I'm going to try and do it in one effort. Okay, that was the scary bit. So, bulge in the end. And this one. No, that really closer together. And they come from the other side as well. We've got these little flicks of highlights. They come across. Here they turn into different sorts of shapes. There's a bit of that, but there's a sort of a creamy yellow to go over the top of it. I fiddled with that too much then. Okay, really got to simplify this quite a lot, which is rule number one. Okay, I think that works there. Those little highlights, yeah, they're quite effective. I'm going to use that yellow ochre. Maybe I'll use a little bit of this cadmium yellow, and I'll make a lighter, creamier version of this same thing. Put a bit of oil in it so it sits up on the surface. Let's try a bit of that in here. That's much more appealing. It still goes all the way to the edge, that's why. Where else can that go? Definitely a little bit in here. Lovely. That was a flick, which I always tell people not to do. Don't do flicks. Super. That's a great shape there. And this colour is really doing the job for it. Okay, is that too bright now? Okay, I'm just going to use what's on the brush, make a darker version, and do some of these shapes in here. Something there. That's a shape. That's a shape. This is good for these lights here. Okay, that's quite sweet, John. Again, I'm going to make myself a little bit of a space here. I can just get in a little bit of extra light. And go back to the light one, which I've kind of messed up now. That's alright, it's still mixing. That's got a little highlight on it. It's got a little bit there. Where was I? Oh yeah. Hey, I got rather absorbed in this now, it's quite fun. It's the highlights that are going to finish this off for me. So to be prepared for those. These shapes. I've still got my background colour, so if I need some more of that. Weirdly, when it mixes in, this seems to look about right. Okay, different brush now. I'm being lazy with my brushes. Oh. I've got some rounds actually, I might use a round. Okay, back to my darks. Let's reinforce those where they need to be. Certainly around here. Keep it simple, don't get too carried away with detail. Keep telling myself. Okay, there's a pinky colour now. How much of that do I need? Is it more purple than that? There's a bit in there. Also a bit under here. We got the angles a bit wrong there. That's alright. Let's pop a bit in there. Oh, here you are. Little. Party of patterns as they go around. It's nice because it brings out the green a bit as well. A bit more purpley, especially for those shadows in there. Okay, and then the lights come through again. How much use can I get out of that? Bit more out of there, I think. Okay, so I'm starting to see an open jar, which is rather fun. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I had my pale green on here, didn't I? Make it a bit paler even. Let's see how much I can turn that green up. Make it a little bit violent. Especially we want to see the inside of the rim of this jar. Yeah. Okay, even brighter now. The very brightest bits I can do with this. I still need to hold back for the really big highlights. So that's that little dome on the top, that little handle. Okay. A bit of a lid at the back. Same there. Right, am I getting too carried away with detail? I do like a bit of detail. The important thing is to keep it under control. Not the detail so much, although that's sort of part of the nature of detail, but really the desire to fiddle with it. A little highlight on there. That bit's brighter. There's that. Okay, same on here. We've got these nice sort of rhythms of light going around. There's a darker orangier light there. And we'll leave the green on the brush just because that can contribute to it rather nicely. And that will go brush. And it's the shape these make as they travel around that will describe the form of the sweet jar. Without me having to do too much about it. Yeah, fiddling now. Be a bit brighter. There's these sort of half highlights on the mandarins. Really bright. How was that? Twinkle at the end there, yeah. Right, let's go back and fix whatever the hell I did to that. That bit on the inside there. Just a bit this side for a start. How are we doing for time? Oh, look at that, it's 11 already. Well, wherever you've got to be. Okay, a few little sparkly highlights for this chap. Sparkle, sparkle. Got quite thick with the paint on this. Rather enjoyed it. A little bit in there. I'm nearly done though. So it's just a few heavy lowlights, a few brighter highlights, a much denser, stronger orange. You know what, I'm just going to add small bits of red to this yellow here and see if that does it. That should do it. And that goes in there. Even redder. It's quite red at that edge. What else? Oh, that's quite orange there. A bit of extra bits of extra dense colour. Again, it looks very different on the palette to how it looks in real life. Right, I'll fiddle with this for ages before I let myself. I was talking about a round brush, wasn't I? There it is. I really only use this for signatures, but we're going to need a bit of that. Warm green. One bit of it. Okay, and a little dense shadow bit. I'm talking about dense darks. A bit in there. A bit in the shadow under there, and then a shadow under here. Now I know where the edge of it is. Exaggerating it a little, but there you go. Okay, bright highlights. There's the one. That's one. There's one. And then okay. And a few bits around here. Plonk, plonk. Plonk, plonk. Plonk. Oh, I mixed it with the orange now. A little bit of oil in there, just to help it be gooey. Making these marks ever so slightly wider as I go along. There's a few little flicks as we go down here. Just getting that rhythm right. These bright green highlights around there. There we go. Just for the sake of it. Still not quite happy with that green. Need to be brighter in places. Okay, I'm definitely over fiddling now. Try and reinforce some of those shapes a little bit. Okay, last highlights, and then I'm going to stop. Any more comments? Steve's envious of my orange hoard. Yeah, I have a little drawer. That's where I keep my magical oranges. Every now and again, chrome orange comes out and makes a special appearance, just to show off, because nothing's as orange as chrome orange. Not nothing. Alright, yeah, I need a little flick of light on the lip of that. That tells us something about the direction the ellipse is going without having to do too much detail. And we've got this little purpley highlight colour. Let's bring out a few little lights in there. This sort of bung. Well, there's a fun word. If you're bored later on, maybe entertain yourself with it. Okay, that's a bit of artistic license at the end, but hey, what's the point of having an artistic license if you're not going to use it? They can't revoke it. I'm still not 100% on this. I think I need to get more reds in there. It's a nice texture though. Well. No, I'll wreck it if I do anymore. So there you are, the escape, or the face planting mandarin. So I say I've stopped, I haven't signed it yet, and I usually fiddle with it a little bit after I've signed it. Do I need any more of that very dark in there? Maybe just a bit in the middle there. Okay, that did nothing. So now I'm just fiddling, I'm officially just fiddling. Because that achieved absolutely nothing. Which means you may as well stop. Oh no, we've got some darks in there. Yeah, what was the point of any of that? Utter waste of time. Tell that idiot to put his brush down. It's not helping. About lights in the background. No, I like it. It's like a prison yard, isn't it? And the yeah, whoever's in that watchtower is taking aim. But poor old Mandarin isn't going anywhere. Poor little fella. Okay, nice bits of the ground. Covered up. Movement just in the paint. Yeah, get you subconsciously. I think a little bit of that green into this dark. And a flourish to finish. I don't normally spend this long, but it doesn't feel like any of us have got very much to do. So that's that. And also, I always dither. I dither and dither and dither because that's part of my process. So if I'm going to film me doing a painting, you're going to see me wandering around doing nothing, forgetting what I'm meant to be doing. See, I knew there was something else I was going to see. I knew it. It's this, it's not right. That's made no difference. Okay, stop it. It's the hardest part. There's always something else you could do. There you go. So let's have a little look at my Mandarin friend. Take this tape off a second. Oh, for goodness sake, come on. Thank you. Okay. You can see there isn't an awful lot going on by way of detail, but hopefully cumulatively the image makes sense. There it is. I haven't done a little highlight for his stalk, but yeah. That's my subject matter, which from my point of view, it's a bit like that. So there's lots of other little things I would have done if I'd spent longer with this. I think there's always ways to fiddle. I probably would have put a bit more sort of light blue into this shadow here, and maybe tightened up some of the shapes around here, but I honestly don't think you think about it too much. Yeah, so that's a bit untidy, but it's also not important because the idea is you're looking down into this, you know, the leap has happened, a Humpty Dumpty moment. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I do hope Mark preferred it to football, and thank you very much to both the Cranleys for coming along. It was lovely to see you both here. Yeah, that wants to give up the ghost now. So I've now officially got one person on Facebook. I said I wouldn't mention that, sorry Matt, but it's only you here. So everyone's stuck around to near the end. No, come on. Yeah, you do. Yeah, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed our little quiet time in the studio together, making you a little picture of a sort of sweet jar thing with some mandarins in it. So I'm calling that The Escape, and it will be for sale for, I don't know, make me an offer. I've been doing this artist support pledge thing on Instagram, so I've been shifting things like this for 200 quid, which I'm quite happy with. But who knows, I can't keep them all, so if that means something to you, maybe it could be do with being cropped down. No, I like the extra space at the sides. I think it's rather fun, and it's so static because it's just completely central. So I've enjoyed that. So fun exercise, and reasonably interesting painting for its, you know, for what it is. Yeah. So I'll see you next week, if not before. JamesBudden.co.uk if you want to look at the things about classes and what have you. And I don't know, you know where to find me. See you soon.